And could I have the first slide, please? Thank you very much, Simon. Well, welcome everyone to the 2022 AGM. Thank you for joining. As you will appreciate, online AGMs need slightly different management. The AGM has been broken down into 5 short information sessions. You will see 1 or more slides summarizing the essentials of each topic with a voiceover by the presenter. We hope that the session presentations will spark your interest to ask questions. The session presenters will all form a Q&A panel at the end of the sessions, so we'd like to leave the questions until the end. An advantage of Zoom is that the chat facility button on your screen and the Q&A button, both at the bottom, you can type a chat query or a question for the panel at any time. Vicky, one of our staff team, will answer any general information queries in real time on the chat. Aletha, another of our team, is monitoring the Q&A and will gather up the questions of general interest that you want to pose to our panel during the Q&A session. To propose or second a motion, please just type your name in the chat line as a proposer or a seconder. For voting, a poll will pop up on your screen. Just click on one of 3 options: to agree, to disagree, or to abstain. Lastly, please note that your Zoom will be muted. The presenters will unmute for each session and turn on their videos. Okay, let's look at the agenda. The next slide, please. Here is the agenda for today. Minutes and actions arising with Martin, 2021 annual report highlights from myself, a financial report from Ken Carter. Unfortunately, our treasurer is indisposed today. 50th anniversary 2023 overview from Graham, trustee elections from Martin and Carol, and then all the questions from the attendees. And what we'll have is all the presenters up as a panel with the director. We will then celebrate the completers with Carol and a few closing remarks from me. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Hi there, I should be up on the screen. Hello. Sorry about the slight technical glitch. This is Martin Davis. I'm the secretary of the association, so I try and deal with all matters of business and so on. The first item on the agenda can be a slightly tedious one, but does formally need to be done, which is to look at the minutes of the last meeting. They have been circulated to you. The annual report and accounts were approved. The trustees were duly elected. That's a matter we have to come to later. A number of very good questions were raised, some of which were mentioned here and are expressed in the minutes. I hope you all have had a copy of the minutes. And what we need to do is to do it in 2 stages. First of all, to see if there are any corrections, which you could type in and that we need noticing, and can therefore amend the minutes on that basis. And secondly, on the basis of that, whether we can approve the minutes as a true and correct record, for which I will need a proposer and a seconder, and then a vote for everybody. The first thing is, of course, to see if there are any corrections. Is anything coming through concerning any corrections?
No corrections, Martin.
Nothing at all. I just, because I had a bit of a technological glitch before, Bob, I'm just making absolutely sure, to make sure they're on. I then need a proposer and a seconder for the minutes, please. Anybody who wish to put themselves forward to approve them? Lucy and David have proposed. I think we can take one as the proposer and one as the seconder, can't we? Lucy as the proposer and David as the seconder. On that basis, would people like to use the button which should be there in front of you to vote to approve the minutes, or I'm afraid otherwise, if you so feel? Getting lots of thumbs up floating across my screen. Just checking, Bob, at what stage does this record automatically the numbers? Has to come up.
They're actually voting for the report and accounts, Martin, not for the minutes. We were just going to do thumbs up and ask if there's any issues.
Oh, I see. Sorry, that wasn't clear on what I was sent from Bob's slide or what we did last year. Okay. So we're getting thumbs up generally, are we? Thank you for that. Last year we did have for and against, I note, but okay.
I think that's fine then, Martin. That's absolutely
That's fine. So we need the next slide, I think, so that Ken can come in with the financial report, or is it your? Yeah, it's your chair annual, isn't it? Your annual report. Okay, thank you.
Right. Well, highlights and achievements. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's very difficult to decide which highlights and achievements to pick out because it's been such a complicated year. I think it's really a game of two halves, COVID and recovery. We've had excellent team working response to the COVID-19 demands from the association. We decided not to furlough the staff, and I think it was a good call. Lots of projects were delayed, but the information requests to the association absolutely skyrocketed, and we've had lots and lots of local walkers on the path, which has been great. And then as last year we had the relaxation of the restrictions, we ended up with many, many more holiday walkers on the path. 50% of the path was surveyed between October 20 and March 2021 as the COVID restrictions permitted. Now, there were lots of impacts on path maintenance and also delays to various path projects. Many tourism businesses suffered, affecting our sponsors, and indeed we relaxed certain aspects of our business sponsorship scheme to cover that. However, the path rangers and the managers worked extraordinarily hard to recover. In many places, they're still working hard to recover. The path standards have dipped somewhat, but nonetheless, it's been really heartening to see how well things have progressed. A big focus for us last year with COVID was health and well-being. We ran 3 connecting actively to nature projects with our partners, bringing in lots of new audiences. And some of you may have seen some details of that we gave on the forum, so I won't go into too many details. We had health walks with our partners, improving lives in Plymouth. And I'm really grateful for the volunteers in various sections of the path who work to map, identify improvements, and then help us publish lots of easy access walks. And that's something that we're continuing into this year. Now, the other focus really has been conservation, work to promote and strengthen the green corridor around the path. We joined and sponsored the Life on Edge South Devon AONB 6-year pilot project. Now, they've got funding for the first 18 months, and it really is all about nature recovery in the coastal corridor, which is a marvelous opportunity for us to assist in conservation. There are a lot more details and achievements in the annual report, I'd like a lot more time to talk about them, but I think the best thing is we can pick up any questions you may have during the Q&A. So next slide, please.
Hello, everyone. Can I have the first slide? Thanks. I'm actually one of 4 trustees that sit on the Finance Committee. And as Bob mentioned, unfortunately, Hilary can't actually present the report and accounts. So I'm going to step in on her behalf. So Finance Committee meets quarterly. We monitor progress of the budget against our business plan targets, and we try to make sure that during that time we meet our reserves policy and the benchmarks that we set ourselves, so that we can continue to operate as a going concern and meet the Charity Commission's rules and regulations. We produce the accounts, and we have them independently assessed by Bishop Fleming. And pleasing to note that the 21 report and financial statements that have been produced have had no qualifications or alterations back from the assessors. I think this is probably due to the diligent work of Carol Cassidy, who's been our finance officer for the past 8 years and is now stepping down. So a big thank you to Carol. Can I have the next slide, please? So these are the headline figures of our accounts this year, 2021. They come from page 27 in the report, the annual report. So our total income during the year was 520,000, with an expenditure of 600, leaving us with a net expenditure of 80,000, which was covered from our reserves. We still have a healthy position with regards to our reserves, which is outlined again in the report on page 39. And I've given a breakdown of how we hold those reserves. The restricted funds are 33,000. They are held in reserve and kept for particular specific purposes that the donors have requested. We have in the order of 522,000 designated to particular areas of activity and held as designated funds. And we have 178,000 held in unrestricted reserves. The unrestricted reserves are held to bridge any gap that we might have between our spending and income. And it's the policy of the association that we have at least 6 months operating day-to-day costs covered, and that amount is 140,000 over the reporting period. I have the next slide. So what I've done here is show a breakdown of where the income comes from, and it's shown there that 34% actually is in trust, from trusts and grants that we achieve. 25% is from yourselves as members. 18% in donations, legacies and gift aid, and also sales, guides and branded items makes 13%. Last year, the corporate and waymark and business sponsorship brought in about 9% of our income. So that is generally how it's broken down. But the really pleasing thing for me is to see that the members still make up over half of the income, and that membership has been stable in terms of numbers. And in fact, early part of this year, we've seen an increase in the numbers of members to nearly 11,000, which is really, really pleasing. So it's a really big thank you to you as members for continuing to be part of the association and for contributing towards being able to support the path in the way we have. During 2021, corporate sponsorship grew by 17% over the year. That's 70% more than the previous year. And we hope that the Waymaker Business Supporter Scheme going forward will grow further income as the tourism businesses recover from the effects of COVID, although this could potentially be affected by rising costs. It's pleasing to see if some of you were on the Coastal Forum just earlier this afternoon, the numbers of business waymakers are growing. And now that we have introduced the passport scheme, it's pleasing that is likely to grow in the future. So that's an area that we're very pleased about. Can we have the next slide, please? So this slide shows really a focus on how the money has been spent, particularly on the path. Back in 2019, the association supported 4 successful local enterprise partnership bids, and this was the end of the European funding programs that existed. So we were able to secure an investment of 750,000 from a pledge of 100,000 from the association. During the 2020, obviously the delay caused by COVID and poor weather and lockdowns led to some of the projects being delayed and projects being completed in 2021 at a total cost of 495,000, with 38.5 contributed from the association. I should point out that some of these figures are spent by other parties, and the figures that are in our annual accounts are the 38,500, and that is the contribution that the association makes alongside our partners, the authorities that actually do deliver some of the work. In addition, the association spent 6,200 on people counters, and that has helped monitor the impact of the improvement projects that we've carried out during the year, and is something that certainly a lot of the grant giving bodies require us to actually show. And that's a very important part of the expenditure that we've delivered on. The Path Committee spent 31,200 on 16 projects, and we have a further 27,000 authorised by them to be spent on another 10 projects for completion during this coming year. And Natural England have also given an additional fund of 60,000, which enabled the association to deliver another 25 projects and lever in an investment of the order of about 105,000 that we've been able to achieve through the support of Natural England. Have the next slide, please. So if there aren't any urgent questions, what I would like to ask is for a proposer and a seconder for the annual report accounts.
We have several in chat now. That should be okay.
Thank you very much, everyone. So if you can indicate. So if you can use the poll now, that would be very useful. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, the poll is ending in 5 seconds. There we go.
Thank you very much, everyone. Can I ask for the next slide, please?
Hello there. Good afternoon, and thank you, Bob. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Graham Keane, one of the trustees, and I'm also the chair of the working group looking and managing the 50th anniversary of the charity. 2023, next year, will be the 50th anniversary of when the first volunteers set about creating a complete path around the coast. And it only seems like yesterday that Ken was organising the 40th anniversary. Next slide, please. This is the logo that has been developed by ABG Design in Truro, pro bono, so thank you to them. And as you can see, it gives a nod to our current Southwest Coast Path Association logo. And this will be used throughout the whole of 2023 to celebrate the 50th anniversary. And you can see that the theme, Trailblazing, also the name of our magazine, is going to be the theme for the year. So this really reflects those early days of literally making a trail where there wasn't one. And ever since, for the last 50 years, coming up and establishing new ideas and methods and being innovative. And we will continue as an association to look forward. So Trailblazing for 50 years is the theme for our 50th anniversary. Next slide, please. So a working group has been established consisting of several trustees, plus the fundraising manager, the head of communications, and the director, Julian. And we've met several times already, and obviously the theme has come out of some of those meetings. Overall, the objective is to raise the profile and awareness of the association. Research and just casual conversations reflect that the membership really are the only people who realize that the association is the glue and the driving force behind many of the successes that the path has had over the last 50 years. So we really feel that the overall objective for next year should be to raise the profile of the association and then create a fundraising campaign, look to recognize and celebrate our volunteers and members, a very important objective, to increase the diversity of our supporters, and that has started over the last few years, but we're really going to make a big effort looking at new membership schemes, perhaps for families, for young people, and then a program of events along the path that will enable a lot more people to get involved in the campaign. So, for example, an end-to-end walk, which will aim to reach new audiences and promote equity of access. This has already started in some ways with the Over 55s campaign, wheelchair and buggy access, better access for younger children as well. So easy access walks, they will be used to help raise our profile and encourage more equity of access. Today, Aletha, our communications manager, launched a soft launch, I think it's called, the Passport. So this is a Southwest Coast Path Passport, rather like the Camino Trail that many of you will know about, so that our waymakers will have stamps at their various business locations along the path, and I think up to 100 or so stamps will enable people to collect these stamps and make use of them in their passport as they go around the path. And that, I think, is being launched in July of this year, but will be very much part of the campaign for 2023. We're also looking to get some ambassadors on board. So if you do know of any well-known people who have an affinity with the path and the Southwest, then please let Aletha know. That will be much appreciated. Sponsors also, and I'm pleased that St Austell Brewery have recently come on board as a sponsor for the photographic competition. So there's plenty going on for 2023. I'm looking forward to a great celebration, year of celebration. And if any of the members have ideas that they would like to bring forward, then please do make contact with one of our staff. I think that's all I need to say at the moment. So thank you very much. And next slide.
Thank you, Graham. I hope everybody can hear me. I still can't manage to see myself on screen, but apparently other people could before, for good or ill. One of the most important, if in procedural terms, bits of business of the AGM is, of course, to re-elect trustees. In accordance, next panel, next slide, please. As you can see from that, according to our constitution, the AGM is requested to vote approval or otherwise for Board of Trustee candidates. You can see slightly further down 10 names of people who are existing trustees who put themselves forward to stand again. They've all been proposed and seconded by members in accordance with the constitution. You'll also see that against the names, for example, myself, Secretary, Hilary Dinsdale, Treasurer, Carol Grant, Vice Chair, and Bob Mark, of course, Chair, an indication of the officer post that people are prepared to undertake. In accordance with Charity Commission current guidance, rather than the AGM voting in officers, all trustees are voted in together. And after that, there needs to be a meeting of the trustees to formally approve the officers, as indicated. But I think you have the information there. It'll be the first board meeting, probably one fairly soon on an emergency basis following the AGM, that the board will vote to confirm the officers. If you have a voting button in front of you now, it would be very helpful if you could vote to appoint the above candidates for, in all cases, re-election to the board, or otherwise if you see fit. If you could do that, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Poll ending in 5 seconds.
Thank you very much for that. If there are any questions concerning trustees or other matters, they can be dealt with in the question and answer session at the end, of course. So please don't feel you can't raise anything further about this. Otherwise, next slide, please, and I'll hand over to Carol, I hope, concerning some future vacant board positions, currently two vacant board positions.
Thank you, Martin. I can't see myself either, but I'm assuming I'm here. Carol Grant's here, Vice Chair.
Can I say before I come off, I'll come off then. I can see you and I couldn't see myself either. So quite what this is all about, I don't know. We're being erased from history, I think that's what it is.
Okay. The association constitution allows for 12 trustees. We currently have 10. Members will have seen that we advertised for candidates to come forward for the vacancies that are available, and that we're pleased that we've got a number of members who've put themselves forward. We asked for CVs and application forms in accordance with the rules so that we had a consistent process to interview people. The Charity Commission requires us to ensure that trustees are fit and proper persons, and we have worked over the last year to look at the skills and experience of existing trustees and our plans going forward to make sure that we've got a very clear sense and a set of detailed criteria of what we need from our trustees going forward. We've got an interview panel in accordance with our rules, which will be myself, Martin, the secretary, Julian, the director, and also Lucy Daniel, who is here at the AGM today and who chairs our trustee working group. We're interviewing at the end of June, beginning of July, and selected candidates will be recommended to our next board meeting for co-option in August, and the full board, including the new trustees, will come before the 2023 AGM for election. So that's just a quick run through the process for our vacancies, and we are now going to move into the panel section of the AGM. So next slide, please, and I will stay visible.
Hello, everyone. Well, we've got a number of questions, and maybe if I can pick up the first question that's come through. Just a second, and there we are. Yeah. So David wants us to say a little more about how we will consolidate and build upon the engagement of volunteers. So I think if we can ask Julian to pick that up, and then perhaps a brief mention from Carol around the health and wellbeing stuff.
Thanks, Bob. So yes, we've already have quite a, I mean, we are a volunteer organisation, all the trustees are volunteers. We already have a very strong volunteer series of local and area reps covering the Coast Path. We've put in a heritage lottery bid for what we call in the Coast Path Connectors, is to increase the charity's capacity in volunteer management and to draw new volunteers in. And these are volunteers that we're looking to basically add a different aspect of volunteering for the charity, looking at trying to improve how we engage with people on the ground, and especially engage in kind of trying to draw people out onto the Coast Path who aren't necessarily using it that much, and improving equity of access. So we'll hear about the outcome of that heritage lottery bid shortly, and so really looking forward to hopefully building the capacity of the charity to give more people opportunity to make a difference by working with us as volunteers.
Great, thank you very much. Carol, we've done some pilots on health and well-being. How do you think volunteers may help and assist in that in the future?
Well, I think one of the things that the various lockdowns and the sort of process of recovery from COVID have taught us is just how important being outside, and in our case being on the path, is for people's health and well-being. And we know that we want to encourage a much wider range of people out on the path, but also we need to support our existing volunteers, and we need to encourage a much wider range of people to get involved in volunteering. I think Graham touched on the fact that that's going to be one of the aims of the 50th celebrations, is to look at how we can improve access to the path. And within that, I think there will be opportunities for people to get more involved in the various volunteering opportunities that we've got.
Thank you. It's probably worth just mentioning before we go to the next question that one of the areas that volunteers are working with our partners is in relation to the Life on the Edge programme. It's been very interesting that they've been looking for sort of people scientists, if you like, people to help them track various indicator species on the path. So they ran some training courses, and in fact we've been talking with the South Devon OMB about how we can engage our own volunteers in this process to train up so that the understanding of what's going on the coast path in terms of nature recovery can become more specific, and we can decide where the appropriate interventions ought to be made. Okay, we've got another question here in relation to the people counters, and I think we should take that in two parts. The first relates to how they work, and the second really follows on in terms of how we use them. So if I can just say that effectively these are pressure pads, these are items that we put out in well-used areas of the path such that we can identify the amount of traffic. And then probably it's quite useful for the audience if Ken gives us a view about how the numbers and the information about people can be used to bolster an investment case.
Yeah, I mean, there's an example that's been recently introduced at Streetgate, quite close to Slapton, where the coast path was improved and a new route put in. And the pressure plates are basically put in by gates where people will have to walk through, so that they basically, the pressure that they put down onto the ground is recorded. And at Streetgate, the numbers of people walking that section of the coast path after investment in improving it was incredibly high as a result of the improvement project that was put in. And that example, and we're still recording the numbers at that location, and it was quite interesting to see during COVID that numbers increased. I think Lorna mentioned in her presentation earlier that generally the use of the coast path has gone up by about 15% as a result of the impact of COVID. And it's down to having pressure counters that we have located all the way around the region that can actually come up with these figures. And this is vital information really when you're applying to whether it be a government department like Natural England or for even local charities to get funding to help support the work that we do, that we have figures available to back up the claims that we're making. It's very often useful as well to get before and after figures. That's quite useful that you can use these counters for as well.
Could I just add that the particular example that Ken uses is instructive, because then you're not only just talking about the wear and tear on the path, sheer numbers in terms of funding bids and Natural England funding. You're showing the big difference that can be made if you do carry out improvements, which is a core part of the association's mission. So I think that's crucial.
Yep, I would agree. I think somebody a lot smarter than me said, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And I think that's kind of solid.
Too many of those around, I think, but yeah, I know.
There's another good question really relating to the financial situation that we have. What are the financial challenges you face given rising costs, increased red tape and compliance? So I think we'll put that one initially to Julian, please.
So we're seeing, obviously everyone's seeing increased costs with just energy costs are impacting on goods and services directly. But we're also seeing increasing costs in things. I mean, I don't want to mention the B word, but we have left Europe in a more formal way, and just trying to post things to our members, say in Germany, it's just causes lots of problems, because it's now it's basically there are extra costs involved in doing that, and also some of our members are also receiving costs because they're receiving parcels from us and then getting charged extra because it's coming from outside of the EU. So we're trying to work through those issues as much as we can and trying to reduce the impact of that extra friction in trading with European partners. In terms of red tape, not significant issues with red tape at the moment, but there are significant changes in how the landscape is being funded and how our work is being funded. And I think, Bob, I don't know if you want to pick up on that a bit more, because we've got the Future Prosperity Fund, we've got the dropping of EU funding. There's a whole. I mean, we could have a whole webinar just about that whole one issue, to be quite honest. But yeah.
Well, that's right. I think part of the challenge is that there has been considerable, let's say, acrimony between local authorities and central government about how the future to the Rural Development Grant Scheme and the UK Sustainability Fund will work in the future. So the idea was that they would have a UK shared prosperity fund. Inevitably, a lot of it was going to be spent on economic development, and there are quite a lot of issues around levelling up. Initially, there was conversation around the LEPs, local economic partnerships, taking a much greater and stronger role, but that unfortunately disenfranchises certain aspects of the local authorities who are vital partners in running the public rights of way. And I'm not sure that this debate has really settled down effectively yet. The mechanisms are still being worked through. So we've lived on the fat of the last 2019 grant applications, which fortunately, government agreed they would completely honour after the leaving the European Union. And we have been successful in various grant applications since then. But what we're finding is there's lots of small pots of money in various places, and it's a much more confused picture than we've been used to in the past. And of course, that adds to our management and administration challenge. I'd like to just turn to another question now, because we could talk about the issues of grants, as Julian rightly says, for quite some time. One of the points that came up earlier was about identity and brand. And there is concern amongst a number of members about the fact that we have this wonderful England coast path coming, and what happens to our precious Southwest coast path. Does it get subsumed? And there are actually some very good parallels and examples for us to draw on. So in Wales, for example, the Pembrokeshire coast path predates the Welsh coast path by a good number of years. And actually the Pembrokeshire coast path has been able to maintain its identity. And so one of the things that we are very keen to do at the national level is to push the advantages of what we call a regional model for the England coast path. And Ken's on one of the working groups, and perhaps I'll ask him just to add a few words on that in a moment. But the idea really is that if you think about it, the regional identity is what energizes tourism, economy, and interaction really with local communities. And so therefore we think it's a big advantage if in the future this is the sort of way that the England coast path goes. Ken, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yes, I can do. I was in a meeting with a number of partnership representatives yesterday, talking about this very thing, and a number of them are new partnerships that haven't existed very long for parts of the England coast path, and for this sort of thing it's very new to them, but we certainly made the point that Southwest Coast Path has a very strong brand and will want to continue to use that brand in a positive way. and that we can actually share our experiences of how we develop ourselves to other parts of the England Coast Path. And that meeting yesterday concluded that we'd set up a small group of people that are interested in how the England Coast Path will be marketed, so that they can work with Natural England and the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, who deal with promotion work for the government, to make sure that the messages are quite clear and consistent. And that's something that is going to be very, very prominent over the next year, particularly into 2023, which is Year of the Coast, when a lot of work will be done to try and raise the profile of the England Coast Path.
Perhaps I can, thanks for that, Ken, that's very useful. Perhaps I can ask Graham how he sees the Year of the Coast and our 50th anniversary working together.
The concern about the branding of the Southwest Coast Path, actually, the director and the trustees have been looking at this for quite some time, at least 2 or 3 years. So it's not something that's new to us. And I think all along we've taken the approach that whilst we want to maintain the Southwest Coast Path brand, we don't want to alienate ourselves from the English Coast Path. And it's a case of working hand in hand. At the moment, our celebration is very much about the 50th anniversary of the Southwest Coast Path, and certainly our working group are very much focused on that. And I'm not sure our anniversary will be necessarily the right time to be perhaps confusing it with the Year of the Coast. I don't know if Julian wants to add anything. There's a danger that there's too many things going on, and we need to focus on making sure we get our message across.
Yeah, and I think the good news is we've got a very strong Southwest Coast Path brand and awareness, and that will remain. In terms of our events over 2023, obviously, the 50th is going to be the big thing that we're going to be pushing, and what we've created the 50th logo so it can be used as a stamp that can be put on other people's events too. So there will be events happening along the coast path over that year which we are not directly running ourselves, but others can say we're part of the celebrations. And that's the way I see that the Year of the Coast being used. If someone's doing a Year of the Coast celebration, they also in the Southwest will get the 50th celebration kind of thrown on it too. So I don't see that there's going to be hopefully too much confusion there. And also we're going to be doing far more in terms of promotion and awareness raising. Our focus is purely going to be on the 50th celebrations.
Thank you. I think it's just worth sort of finishing that question then with just the point that we do not see ourselves in competition with the England Coast Path. We see ourselves very much complementary. We see a regional identity working extremely well with the England Coast Path brand. And indeed, we've taken advantage of the opportunity to work with the England Coast Path surveyors to identify areas where the pot of money that was ring-fenced by government for England Coast Path improvements can be used to the advantage of the Southwest Coast Path National Trail. And that relationship has worked extremely well. And in fact, I'm very grateful for the very positive way that the volunteers and the staff have worked on that aspect, because it could have related in some friction going forward, which of course we don't want. Okay, I think we have come out of the end of the various questions. I believe that one of the things that people have asked for is details about how the 50th will progress. There are lots of people who are really interested in getting involved, and that's been great, actually. It's been really nice to receive those comments from people. What we'll be doing is we're putting that information out, as Graham said, on Trailblazing and through our e-news. And as we identify specific events, then what we'll do is we'll be proactive and we'll go out to you, the membership, to get you engaged. Because frankly, without your support, we just don't achieve anything like the results we want. I mean, it's been fantastic over the last year, despite all the challenges of COVID, to see how marvelously volunteers and members have supported us. We really could not have gone on without your support. So thank you so much for that. Right, unless there are any last questions, I don't think there are, Aletha. So we'll draw the chat piece to a close. And could I have the next slide and ask the presenters to switch off their videos?
Thank you, Bob. We just want to take a moment towards the end of this meeting to celebrate our completers. We do this regularly in Trailblazing magazine. We all know that walking the full 630 miles is an amazing achievement. And we just want to take a moment for you to join with the board and the staff team to celebrate some of those who have completed the whole path. We also just want to point out that for some people, for various reasons, they can't complete the whole 630 miles. And we want to celebrate people too who have set and completed their own personal goals, which might be taking on an appropriate stretch of the path. So let's take a look at some of the completer photographs that we have this year. Thank you. I'll pass you over to Bob now for the closing remarks.
Thank you very much. And you'll see in the center of the slide there, various people spelling out love. That's not love for me, that's love for the path. And I think it's something that we all share. Right, let's have the next slide. Okay, well, thank you very much for all your support and engagement this afternoon. I have a tally, which may not be complete, of 66 attendees. That's not including the presenters and so on. And as far as I'm aware, the person who is tuned in from the most distance is someone from Stuttgart in Germany. And that's fantastic, because we really do enjoy meeting our European and indeed international, wider international friends on the path. That's been absolutely great. I think it's Ulrich Schwegler. Excuse me if I haven't pronounced that correctly. French I can manage, German I'm not very good at.
Schwegler, I think, Bob, but I wouldn't be. Perfect,
thank you, thank you. Anyway, I hope you can attend one of our walks over this weekend. The details are all on the website. It's very easy. You can just follow the links. You can join with a friend who isn't a member. If that friend should become enthused and become a member, I and the team would be absolutely delighted. We, the trustees, the path volunteers and the staff team are out and about on each of the 4 walks. So please take the opportunity to chat and let us get to know you. We want to know, what you think about the path, what you think about the way we're trying to support it. Please join me in thanking the team for the AGM preparation. They put a lot of work into both the AGM and indeed the forum which went before. The next AGM is going to be on Friday, the 9th of June, 2023. Now, we won't confirm the location at this point because we want to fit it in with the 50th celebration programme. But we would like to make it in person and to meet as many of you as possible. But now we've just about mastered the technology, we'll try and have links for those of you that are overseas at the next AGM as well. So thank you. And really just to finish now, and I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible on the walks over the weekend.